891 ABC Radio Adelaide. Well, it's great to see communities in action, and one in the Blakeview area has really taken it on board to look after its neighbours. It's been the driver behind. The person that is the driver behind it is Bec Morgan. She's the operator of Blakeview Community, which is basically a community pantry, Jules.
And Bec joins us now. Welcome, Bec.
Good morning, guys.
Now, tell us about the community pantry. We'll get to why you're in the news a bit lately, or in the news on social media a bit later, but tell us about why you started it, Bec, and what it does.
Yeah, so our Blakeview Community Pantry basically stems from the idea that if you have something that you're not using and you feel someone else can use it, you can come to the pantry, you can donate it, and then people visit it and take what they need home. It basically started from a cherry tomato plant that I have growing in my yard. I had an abundance of cherry tomatoes and I just couldn't give them away, and I was thinking, how can I make it so that these are not going to waste? And the idea of a grow-free came to mind, which is basically if you have a lemon tree, for instance, it's giving you heaps of lemons, and then I have the cherry tomato bush, I put the cherry tomatoes in and take lemon, you take cherry tomatoes or whatever else is in there, and that's sort of how the pantry started.
It's expanded to a lot more than just food now, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's actually taken off in a way that I couldn't have possibly predicted, and I'm so excited that it has. So I had a question early on when I first started this: would I accept some children's clothes to go into the pantry? And I just thought to myself, you know what? Yes, I will, because there are so many families out there doing it tough with the cost of living. There is no reason why they can't come past my pantry, grab a couple of items, donate some stuff that maybe their kids have grown out of, and it's sort of taken off from there. So we have everything in our pantry, from adults and kids clothing. We get decor items. At the moment, we actually have a brand new toaster in there that someone found in their cupboard they just weren't using, so they've popped it in there. And things like that can just really make differences to people, especially in these times when, you know, let's be honest, we're all doing it really tough.
So Bec, is the idea that you take something and leave something?
That is definitely the idea, and we welcome donations coming from whoever would like it. But I also make sure that my community knows that there is no pressure to do that. This community pantry was set up in mind to make sure that everyone can access it without having the pressure to have to actually give something back.
What does it actually look like, Bec? Is it a cupboard? Is it a room in your house? How do people access it easily?
Yeah, so it took me a while to actually figure out how I was going to do this in a manner which is safe and accessible for everyone. So basically what it is it's a large double-door bird cage, if you will, that sits out the front of my property. So it's on my property line, so within the bounds of my land. And basically it's like big double doors, there's big shelves in there, and basically what happens is people will come past, they'll pop in there anything that they would like to donate and take anything that they want to take home. And then a couple of times a day, I generally go out there and I sort through things and I put things so that you can actually see them and stuff like that. And it's basically out next to the street, so people can come anytime. If you feel like you don't want to come during the day and you want to come after hours, that's absolutely okay too.
And Bec, with food, do you monitor use-by dates and how fresh it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I post on my local social media pages when I get new donations through and things like that, because it's important that people know that things are being updated. But as pantry items come through, I regularly check everything. So a box of biscuits, for instance, or a cake mix, or anything basically that is a pantry stocked item, I check everything. And even if it's close to the use-by date, thank you very much for your donation, but it goes in the bin, because I want to make sure that my community is not at risk from any of this too.
Yeah. So what's been the reaction from the community? Did it sort of upscale fairly quickly from your original idea about the cherry tomatoes?
Yeah, it did actually. And It's been very welcomed by not just my community, but, people outside my community. The word has spread really quickly, which surprises me because it did start as just a little idea to give my cherry tomatoes away. So I actually spoke to a lady who came past and did a donation yesterday from Salisbury, which is actually outside of what I would consider my local community area. She was told by a friend, and, I'm so happy that this has taken off.
And Bec, you do sound happy, but I'm guessing because it has escalated, you're having to put more time into it. So this must be a labour of love for you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it really is. So, I am quite lucky. I'm a stay-at-home mum of two beautiful boys at the moment. So I guess in that aspect, I do have the time to be able to monitor it and keep an eye on it. But yeah, listen, I probably do it anyway because I've just seen how the community has reacted to it and how it has helped people. And, I get messages saying, thank you so much for the books, or, Book Week was just on with all the schools around the place, and all my kids' books went. It was just really great to see.
You're listening to the voice of Bec Morgan. She's running her own community pantry from her front yard in Blakeview, as you listen here on 891 ABC Radio Adelaide. Sonia and Jules with you. Now, Bec, what happened on Friday? You had a visit from the council. What happened with that?
Yeah, so I actually had a visit from our local council compliance officer, is what he is. And basically, at some point in the past, someone has gone to them and raised some concerns about the pantry. I believe some of those concerns were things around traffic congestion, obviously in front of my house with people coming and donating and taking goods, and also the quality of the goods inside. Now, he basically asked me the same questions that you are. He asked me how it started, what I do, what we do to monitor it, and I just told him everything. So he's gone back to the council and back to the appropriate parties that he needs to clear it by, and he actually called me yesterday and said, look, we think what you're doing is a wonderful initiative, and based on what's going on there now, you can absolutely keep going. And yeah, I'm so thrilled because there was just a moment there I thought I might have to close it down.
So Bec, I guess the idea really works because you're putting the time into it. And people are asking, they're saying what a great concept it is. But do people just stick their junk in there sometimes? I mean, do you have people who aren't respecting it as much as others?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably one of the concerns that was brought up from the council is perhaps it might become a dumping ground. And I completely appreciate that because sometimes I'll come out in the morning and there'll be bags and bags of stuff and boxes of books and things like that. But again, I guess in this particular instance, it stems back to the fact that I have the time and the capacity and the patience to actually go out there each day, go through the things that can go in the pantry, and then maybe bin whatever isn't any good and go through. And I mean, if I'm perfectly honest, there hasn't been a lot of that happen because I think my community and all my local people who know about this appreciate the initiative is there to help, not to hinder by dumping rubbish.
Well, it must be because you put so much effort into it, though, Bec. And I've heard reports that you even put ice out to make sure the food stays cool and that sort of thing a couple of times a day. That makes a big difference because a couple of people on the text line say, look, I had a share table once, but people abused it, took everything, put rubbish back and left crap in my garden, had to take it down, those sorts of things, you know?
Yeah. And I think because you remove the rubbish, Bec, I mean, people would feel that, that they'd respect it more because they would see that you were putting time into it, and hopefully people respect that process because as you say, Bec, it is so important. It's good for environmental reasons, it's good for cost of living reasons, and, you put love into it, Bec, and, we really admire that. It's just great to hear someone like you on the radio.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I do put a lot of time into it, but then if I'm honest, I don't really think about that time that I'm putting into it because if I am going to put something like this out the front of my house and I'm going to take ownership of this, then I'm in 100%. And it's been so great to see that my community has responded well to it. And, if I'm honest, I'm quite surprised that it hasn't been taken advantage of or vandalised or pulled down because you know, unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in at the moment, and things like that do happen.
Well,
So I'm
Sonia,
just going to continue on.
Sonia and I are looking at each other, and we've just made some hand signals, and we believe that you deserve a family pass to the show. Do you go to the show? Because we can hear your kids in the background.
Yes, sorry. It's
You're
wake
putting
up
in.
time for school.
You're obviously putting so much time into making this a community, a great thing for your community and helping out the community. We're going to give you a family show pass. You can either use it yourself or maybe put it in the pantry for someone else.
No, use
That's
it.
up to you.
Yeah,
The plan is for you to use it, Bec. All right?
Thank you so much. My kids will love it. I really appreciate it.
Well, Bec Morgan, thank you for your time. It's interesting, isn't it? Because quite a few people on the text line have said, look, this is a great idea, but we've seen it in the past and it's just become a dumping ground and not great. But I think the fact, you know, when you see things are disregarded and that you can get away with it, maybe you do. But if something is tended and looked after so much, I think people are sort of more reluctant to do it then, aren't they?
Well, they know it has a certain standard, and I think people will respect that more. But, you know, people who have tried it, I mean, it's a great thing to try. But, yeah, it is sad when people use it as a dumping ground. But, you know, the fact that she doesn't allow that to happen is a real credit to her, which is why she deserves to take her kids to the show on us.
Indeed. We still have one family pass to the Royal Adelaide show to give before the show is up, so make sure you keep listening for that. 1300 222 891 when we ask you to call. It's 6 minutes to 7. Next,